I'm Caitlin. I'm a maker outside the Boston metro area, and this is my second episode here on YouTube. I'm going to go through my Make Nines for 2026 today, so thank you for spending some time with me. As I said, this is my second episode. The first episode I uploaded a couple of weeks ago, or last week. And that was my everything I made in 2025. So if you are one of my original viewers and returning, thank you so much. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how YouTube works. Yeah, it is nice. It is like a little dopamine when you see your views go up and getting a few comments, and it's been nice. So I'm looking forward to making this video, coming off of that first one. So welcome back to everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I guess just the basic quick admin that everyone does. I'll link the bundle that I'm going to talk about today in the description below, and that will take you over to Ravelry. Yeah, and I do have yarn for most of these projects, so I'll try to talk about that, like the stats and the specs on that. But the images I put up of the garments themselves, these are mostly garments I'm gonna talk about today. I'll just include the parameters on the description page from Ravelry. So yeah, just like last time, I'm gonna do a one-shot deal. I hope it goes well, so wish me luck on that. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Before I get started, I guess I'll just mention what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the Aura pullover by Jenny Ansa, I believe her name is. It is a rounded, top-down rounded yoke, lots of twisted stitches, and just a hint of cables down at the bottom before the body and the sleeves done just in pure stockinette. The yarn I used is Brooklyn Tweed Ranch 2, which was one of their limited series yarns in the color natural. Obviously you can't get any Brooklyn Tweed anymore, but this was always a rather limited yarn. And yeah, I really like the yarn, actually. It's rough with not being scratchy or itchy. It just feels like a really woolly wool. I think the sheep are from Wyoming, which I really like. My brother lives out there, so I like that little connection. And yeah, I knit this sweater a couple years ago already, and I wear it a lot. It's definitely a favorite. I get a lot of comments on it because I do think it is rightfully striking and attractive in its pattern and very unique. And it was pretty easy. So I would definitely recommend the pattern, and if you can find the yarn and you're interested in trying it, I would recommend it too. I've worn it a lot the past few years, really not much pilling, and I haven't noticed any felting under the arms or anything. So yeah, I would recommend both. Top down raglan twisted, the half twisted rib. This is a worsted weight yarn, and I did the ribbing at 3.25 millimeter needles, very hard on the hands. It actually took me a long time to do that, just these couple little inches here, because it was definitely too small of a needle for the yarn I was using, but it was worth it. I think it looks really sharp and it has a nice rigidity to it. And yeah, what I tend to do if I don't gauge swatch, I don't know. I don't think I gauge swatched on this. I know that I tend to be a tight knitter and that I usually have to go up a needle size from what the designer recommends. But usually what I'll do, because I guess I'm a little worried about things stretching out over time, is that I will tend to follow the recommended cast on needle size and the recommended needle size at the beginning, and then after a little while I'll measure my gauge and then go up a needle size if it's proven to be too small, and that's usually the case. But I like doing it that way because I do think it provides more structure and longevity, and there's not really any sagging over time. So I definitely, yeah, I don't know if 3.25 was the recommended one, but that's what I used in the beginning. And then I went up, and then, yeah, the one thing I will say, it's really the only complaint or gripe I have about the pattern, because it confused me, and so it's really my fault, but I don't really understand why the designer did this. But I do tend to, like I said, check my gauge as I go, and then at some point I checked my gauge having gone up, and I was still shocked that I was not getting the correct number of stitches in the 4 inches or 10 centimeters, and I was like, oh my god, I need to go up yet another needle size, and that's not really that common for me. So I did it, and then, you know, I basically knit the whole rest of the yoke in 2 needle sizes bigger than recommended. And then I realized, looking a little more closely at the pattern, that the designer was measuring her gauge in, yeah, I don't remember what it was. It was like in 3 inches or something instead of 4 inches. And I don't know why she did that. So yeah, I found that it confused me. I didn't process it because I just assumed it was 20, I'm making up a number, but 20 stitches in 4 inches, and it was supposed to be 20 stitches in 3 inches. So that kind of screwed me up. Despite that, I think it fits me well. It is oversized. Like, I probably could have taken out a whole repeat and still had a nice fitting yoke. But I don't mind the size of this at all. And I do find it very beautiful. So yes, so that's the Aura sweater by Jenny Ansa. Recommend. Let me know if you've knit it. There's not too many projects out there on Ravelry, and I think it deserves to be knit a lot more. I saw the original, I'll say one last thing about this. I saw the original sweater that the designer made, the designer sample in Stephen and Penelope a bunch of years ago. I used to live in Amsterdam, and it was knit out of the recommended yarn, which I believe is Wallin twine, who's a natural yarn dyer based out of northern Germany. And I would definitely recommend that yarn if you can get your hands on it as well. It was really, really beautiful. Definitely more drapey and soft than this yarn, but still had really beautiful stitch definition for the twisted stitches and the cables. Oh, and then there's some wrap stitches as well. That's what these are. So a couple of techniques, but nothing too trying, so it's good. Anyways, so my make 9. I'm like moderately successful with these make 9s. I have a lot of fun putting them together and looking through my stash and seeing what I can do with it. And I would say on average, I'm like a 3 out of 9 in terms of success rate. Some of these are actually from my make 2025. I'm carrying it over because I still want to make them. So I would say my goal is always to at least cast on all of these sweaters. And in this case, I have the yarn to do so. So cross your fingers for me. We'll see what I get done. I still have a lot of whips that I've carried through from the previous year that I really want to finish. So I'll make a video on my whips next. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking casting off a whip, casting on a make 9, something like that, just to make sure that I don't increase my whips too much. Okay, so let's see. These are the guys that I'm hoping to get on the needles this year. I'm not gonna go necessarily in any order. Yeah, I have the yarn next to me, we'll just see. All I have in my notes is just the name and the designer. So, and this will just be, I guess, in case I forget. Okay, where should I start? Okay, I guess I'll start with I think it was my last yarn purchase in 2025. And that is this yarn here. It's the Beaulairs Orchards yarn. It's a Romandale CVM sheep that they raise, and I believe that they're in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's 100% Romandale CVM wool. Don't know what the CVM stands for, but I could put it up on the screen. The color is basswood, and yes, I was watching, I think, top 3, if not number 1. One of my top 3 favorite podcasts is the Knitting a Good Yarn podcast by Jackie and Carmen up in Canada, and they found this yarn a couple of years ago when they went to Rhinebeck, and I think they've bought it for the past 2 years. And in their most recent podcast, Carmen had knit a oversized drop shoulder sweater in this farm yarn, and it looked really beautiful. And they had knit other sweaters in the yarn before at tighter gauges, but they said that this yarn really does its magic at this larger gauge. And I don't know, I was tempted the first year they talked about it, and then I was just really inspired. So they mentioned in that podcast that the farm had put up their yarn on the website for sale. So I went there, put 4 skeins of this in my cart because it's a DK weight 4 ounce, so it's a little bit bigger than the 3.5 ounce or 100 gram skeins that we're used to. So it's 4 ounces of DK weight yarn, 380 yards. It's a 2-ply. And I did balk a little bit at the price, but I was pretty good last year at not buying yarn, so I treated myself. My Christmas gift to myself was this yarn. So yeah, I have 4 skeins of it. It's this very beautiful, it's a light brown. I feel like online they call it a warm gray. I guess maybe you could say that it's a type of gray, but to me it's just a very light brown, and it's definitely warm, which I appreciate. So I definitely want to cast this on this year. I'm not sure what I want to make with it, actually. This sweater Carmen was wearing was whatever sweater I'll put up here. I don't remember the name of it at all. I think the designer was Joanne Ang, though. And it was her most recent one, and it had this beautiful couple lines of lace, I guess, like just single whole lace. I don't really know what you would call that, but they were saying, and it is a 2-ply yarn, and so I think it would look really good in lace. And I do want to do it at a bigger gauge, just like they recommended. So I'm thinking I'm going to do the Gem Sweater by Irene Lynn. It is, I think it's a pretty big gauge, 17 stitches. And what I like about it is that it has lace. It looks like it has a very memorizable, simple repeat of lace. And so it has that effect without it being it is all over lace, but it's not super holey lace. So I'm thinking about doing something like that. But yeah. But I will say, I guess this is the one where if you have any ideas for this yarn, something along the lines of that Joanna Ang sweater. It could be drop shoulder with a little bit of lace, a little bit of texture, or like the Gem sweater by Irene Lim. Yeah, something along those lines. If anything is jumping to your mind, I would love to know. But yeah, this I'm hoping to get on the needles this year. Okay. And the next one, I'm going to try to mix it up color-wise because I actually have 3 different brown yarns in this pile. So let's switch it up and let's go bright red. So this is actually a sweater that I'm planning. Usually I'm not necessarily inspired to knit a pattern exactly the way the designer has it, especially if a lot of people have done the exact sweater as the designer has done it. But I don't know, I really want the cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear in the red, basically just like the photo. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm planning to use this yarn. It's Highland Worsted by Harrisville Designs. It's 100% pure virgin wool, 200 yards in 100 gram skein or 3.5 ounces. And the color is Scarlet, number 63. And yeah, it's definitely a red that I really love. I don't know, it almost kind of walks a line a little bit to me. When people say a true tomato red, I think this is that. But typically for me, I think tomato reds tend to hedge a little cool, but I like more orangey based reds than blue based reds. This is definitely orangey, but I don't know, there's something about it that to me it's like it hedges, it walks that line a little bit. So I really like it. I think it will look good on me, even though it is a very bright color. I'm considering holding a mohair with it just to kind of soften it a little bit. I definitely want to use the toggle buttons. I don't have anything with toggle buttons, and everyone has something with toggle buttons now. So, and then to me that kind of gives it a little, I don't know, it's like Bavarian woods. I don't know, there's something about toggle buttons that's what it reminds me of. So yeah, this yarn, it's 100% wool, spun in the USA, which I appreciate, to be honest. And it's gonna be, yeah, it's not gonna be soft. I don't think it's gonna have a lot of drape. So I'm thinking about holding a mohair with it just to, yeah, give it those qualities. And then I don't know, maybe I'll try a swatch. I think I'm gonna do, it's a saddle shoulder sweater, the cardigan number 9. And I think you do the saddles as your swatches. So I think what I'll do is that I'll do that, see how I feel about the yarn as is, and then go from there. But I'm looking forward to making that. As I said in my last video, I really only have 1 cardigan. So I think it would be a very useful item to have, and I think I would wear it a lot. So hoping this makes it to reality this year. Okay, let's go, I guess, back to a brown. I'm gonna have to alternate. So this yarn here is Briggs & Little Tuffy. It's another 2-ply yarn, and it's another 4-ounce skein with 215 yards. So this is like a real Aran weight yarn, and it's 80% wool, 20% nylon. And what it looks like a lot of people knit with this online is with almost like boot socks, like really thick socks, which makes sense because of the nylon. There are some people with sweaters, but yeah. And from what I could find when I was doing my research, there really aren't that many Aran weight yarns that have that more typical sock weight composition of having some nylon in it. But the reason why I wanted to have a yarn with nylon in it is because I want to knit the waffle loop skirt by Other Loops. And I don't know, well, the vision is that I'm going to have a matching sweater and skirt, because I love the idea of a sweater dress, but whenever I've tried any commercial ones on, I don't know, I guess it's like with any dress, but there's something particular. I work in a school, and I'm constantly raising my hands, my arms, writing on boards and everything. So I don't want my dress to ride up so much. So I'm thinking a sweater, a matching sweater and skirt set will mitigate that concern of mine, or eliminate it really. And yeah, so because I want to knit a skirt, I'm thinking with all the sitting that you do in your clothes, that, I don't know, I feel like you need something like nylon to make sure the integrity of the garment stays intact and doesn't felt or pill or wear away too quickly. So that's my thought behind using a yarn like this. Please let me know if you have ever knit a sweater dress or a skirt. I'm curious to know what yarn you've used and how the wear has been. So anyways, I'm gonna give it a whirl with this, with the Tuffy. I've heard of Briggs & Little before. A lot of people wax poetic about their heritage range, and there's some other very farm yarny ranges, I think, but I've never heard of anyone using Tuffy. So I will say, I'm not sure if I've ever knit with nylon and yarn before. Not to give away too much, but I've actually already started the sweater, the matching sweater that's going to go with this, and it's not the waffle loop sweater, though you may have thought that, logically so. It's a different sweater. I'll show you my whips video, but it's not that pleasant of a knitting experience, and I don't know if it's because of the nylon or not, but I don't know, the way I hold my needles, for example, I never noticed that my hands tend to rest on the stitches, and I actually feel like last night I was knitting on it, for example, and I stopped because it was almost like the friction was almost like a rug burn type feel after a while. It's not going to be super soft, especially textured. Like the sweater knit I'm making is textured. Not a lot of drape, but I don't know. I think it's worth it just so I can sit in the skirt without having to worry about it so much. And I like the color. It's cocoa. The color is cocoa. And it is this really pretty soft, heathered, light, warm brown. Yeah. So that's what this is going to be. Okay. I have one shawl that I want to make this year, and I have decided that it's going to be the Vertices Unite by Stephen West. And I'm not that big of a shawl knitter, and I'm really not that much of a shawl wearer, but it's mainly because the shawls I've knit are not functional. And yeah, maybe when I start the Vertices Unite, I'll talk about my other shawls that I've made before. I've made a like the oblong rectangle night shift by Andrea Mowry. Very beautiful, but just not very functional. It doesn't stay on. It doesn't really cover that much of you. It's more of, I don't know. So I have that. Yeah, the other ones I've made are more like scarves, I guess, in some ways. I end up wearing them more like scarves, but I would like to have a shawl that I could wear either over, over my shoulders and covering enough of my back where it provides a functional amount of warmth. And so I think the Vertices Unite will do that because it is rather wide in the back. I think I would like half circle shawls, maybe even a deep crescent shaped shawl. This is not that, but I feel like it's kind of in the realm. So I'm planning to use, I have a lot of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. Last year, before Brooklyn Tweed announced that they were not going to continue making yarn, it was a pure coincidence and I felt very lucky, but there was this online yarn store that was selling all of the Brooklyn Tweed for $6 a skein. So I basically almost bought them out of everything they had because I love the yarn and that price point is crazy. It was like 60% off. So I do have a lot of it and I want to use it. It's going to be a low volume. When you look at the pattern, you'll see, I think you need 6 colors or something like that. So I'm planning to use colors that are low volume, so it'll be a very subtle, soft color palette. And I'm gonna go with their basic fossil color. Then Faded Quilt. Neither of these grays. Nope, none of these grays have a name, so I'll have to look that up. But a soft gray. Barn Owl. This one actually I got in Amsterdam and it was 17 euros a skein, this one. So the $6 a skein was like such a good deal. I could not pass it up. But that's Barn Owl. This is Caribou. And the last color, I have a little bit of this postcard left. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know how I'm thinking I'm gonna actually be able to show this, but let's see. So I'm gonna do something soft, neutral, low volume. I love low volume. So something like this. And yeah, I think it'll be fun to knit. I like the idea that it's modular with a lot of moving parts. And yeah, and it's garter, I think, which is good because this will be nice and squishy in garter. I guess I could just quickly tell you the stats on the loft. So fingering weight yarn, 275 yards and 50 grams. So yeah, I mean, that's a light fingering by weight, but when you knit this up, because it's woolen spun, also grown in Wyoming and spun in New England, which I love. I'm so sad about Brooklyn Tweed. It's American Targhee Columbia sheep. And yeah, you can knit this up at a pretty decent gauge because it's woolen spun and it really, really blooms beautifully. Do you want to do your hellos? Want to come up? You want to say hi again? Take your little moment. Again, if you're new, this is Siska. He popped by last time too. He's my little, oh, you snoozy? You snoozy boy? He's my rescue mini poodle. All the way from Kuwait, right? Traveled very far to be together. Okay, let's go down. No? Okay, thank you. We'll play a little later, okay? You know how it goes. All right, sorry for the crinkles. This is one that's, the knit that I want to make with this is joining me from my 2025 Make 9. And this is Linen Quill by Pearl Soho. Wow, the color looks so beautiful in this light. I don't know how it's gonna look on screen. It's like the prettiest I've ever seen this color. This is Peach Stone. So it may look brown, it may look purple. I'm not sure what it's gonna look like to you, but it's a little bit of all of that, plus some camel beige. It's very heathered. Wow, this is really nice light. I don't know if you'll be able to see. And then, of course, with the linen flex, with the linen, you can see that as well. The natural color of the linen. I guess that's the tan. Those more tan color in here is the linen that probably didn't catch the dye as well. But yeah, I have knit one garment in Linen Quill, which was my Chaika by Midori Hirose. And I have this sweater's quantity and another sweater's quantity in the same yarn, so I would like to use it. I still want to knit the same thing with this. And I want to knit the Ruth pullover by Irene Lynn. It looks like it would be a beautiful garment to have for the spring and fall. It's a lot of ribbing. I don't know if you changed needle sizes or you changed the pattern of the ribbing. I don't remember. I haven't looked at it too closely recently. But I think this drapey yarn and the fact that it and its composition would lend really well to that pattern. The composition is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. Yeah, so I'm always cold. I live in New England. So even though it has a relatively high percentage of wool and alpaca, I think knit in a more open rib gauge, it'll make for a nice transitional piece. And it's really beautiful drape. So I think that will also be really nice. The pattern has 2 lengths, I think, a shorter and a longer. I'm not sure which one I would do. And of course, I may change my mind as I start knitting it, because it's basically, I think it's literally all ribbing. I'll probably have to get or try my swatch on wooden needles. To me, this yarn is very slippery. And I think if I try to knit it on my metal needles, I use Chow Goose. I think it'll be slippery and maybe a little messy, but I am curious to swatch. So I probably, and I do want to wear it this spring. So this would be one that I would want to cast on sooner than later. Will it be my first cast on? It could be. This might be my first cast on of the year. So that I can have it for April, let's say. Hopefully it won't take me 4 months to knit. Well, we are already mid-January, so, and I have to finish some whips in the meantime. So yeah, I think this is gonna be my first cast on. It's the Ruth Pullover by Irene Lynn. Ooh, I'm actually kind of excited now. Okay. Let's see. Already talked about that. I guess I'll just mention the one that I don't have the yarn for. I want to make one summer garment this year, and that I want to be the Trunk Island Tank by Beth McDonald Stone. And I want to use Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, probably in 2 colors that are very close, and create a marl. That's kind of my idea. It's knitted at a very large gauge. I've actually made one before a few summers ago using that yarn, and I'll put a picture. It's the cream and a light brown, and it was actually really beautiful, perfect for the summer, very, very cooling on super hot, humid days. But the problem was I ended up gifting it to a friend because I just wasn't busty enough for it. So what I would do again this year to rectify the problem that I had would be to just knit it to pattern. It's bottom up, and then you split front to back for you split for front and back, and then you have to start making triangles. And so what I did, I followed the pattern last time, and I started casting off the stitches for the V-neck, but it was too low, and I had to wear like a little cami underneath, but it wasn't what I wanted. So what I would do this time is follow it to pattern, and then just wait an extra inch or 2 after having started the armhole decreases to start the V-neck. Another thing I did that I would repeat is to use smaller needles for the straps. Caitlin did that from, what's the name of their podcast? They don't podcast anymore, but I loved them. Jackie and Caitlin, they're out of Madison, Wisconsin, and she's made at least a few of these tank tops, and she came up with that modification. And so when I made my first one, I did that, and the straps were really, really nice, and they were very cute. And yeah, so that will be the one summer garment I make this year. I'm not that big on summer garments, I don't think. When I do my video on what I need to do with some really lingering whips or UFOs, one of them is a summer garment. I need to make a decision on what I'm going to do with it. But yeah, so that's going to be my one summer garment for the year. And then back to sweaters, because that's just what I do. I want to make the Augustine's number 7 by Anne Sophie Velling, and that's an all over top down colorwork design. It looks stunning. I guess actually this is probably, I don't know if hers is a similar color palette, but I have seen some projects use blue and white, and yeah, I really like them. So there's something very icy and wintry and snowflakey about it without it being a holiday sweater that I really like. And I think this will be a good use for that yarn. I don't remember, because I was looking at a couple of her other patterns. I don't remember the gauge on it exactly, but I think I could get gauge using the Brooklyn Tweed Loft because it's a woolen spun yarn, or I can just swatch and find a gauge that I like and then just pick a size that would coordinate appropriately. I was thinking about getting mohair, a little fluff if I needed to, but I don't know. Again, we'll see. This will be something I cast on much later in the year. Maybe this would be my birthday cast on. My birthday's in the beginning of September, so that I could have it for like true winter, like December, January time. We'll see. I have, most of my whips are color work, and so I feel compelled to finish my color work whips before casting on anything color work. I really can't justify at all. So this was definitely going to be down towards the end of the year anyways. But again, I want to use Brooklyn Tweed Loft. They had a big sale before their closing sale. And I bought this big cone of, I'm not sure if it's like their fossil. Let me see. It's not, I don't know. Their fossil seems to be ever so slightly flecked or heathered with a very light brown, which you won't be able to, I can't imagine you'd be able to see on camera. Maybe. Ever so slightly flecked or heathered. Whereas this just seems to be pure. So I'm not sure if this was ever dyed or heathered. So I think this is just an undyed, no name cone of Loft. So I have that, and then I have a lot of the color Faded Quilt because I just find it such a beautiful blue. I love blue, but I don't necessarily look good in blue. Or I'm just, I wear a lot of different types of blue, but the ones that I think I look best in tend to be dustier, a little bit browner, you know, like the warm tone blues, or like dirty, dusty blues. So I find this one to just be very pretty. It is that dusty, dirty brown blue, but it has some really beautiful, bright turquoise and cobalt blue in here. Let's see if I can share. And yeah, even some browns as well. So I think that would be really pretty. And the contrast will be stark, but I don't think too strong either. So yeah, so this will hopefully turn into the Augustine's number 7. She has a bunch of sweaters that are somewhat similar in style. I think I like the number 7 the best, but I'll revisit it and see if she comes out with anything else. But I do like the idea of all over. And particularly what I like about that one is that the yoke, it's very architectural. Reminds me of like a Gothic cathedral. And then it has the flea stitches on the body. So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. And then, okay, I'm gonna give the Academic another chance, another try. That's the vest by Skandier Knits, all over colorwork, bottom up in the round, and then you steek the neck and the arms. From my other video, you saw that that vest was my really only fail from last year, and it was simply because of the size. So I've learned my lesson, I hope, and I want to try again because I really want an all over Fair Isle vest. And I really should be doing it in the same yarn, but to really make sure I don't make a mistake again, but I'm not, because I made that one in Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and I just don't think I have enough. Plus, I want to get yarn for this project. I don't really need to buy a lot of yarn. I'm going to buy the silk for the Trunk Island tank, and then I'm going to buy yarn for this. I really want to buy some yarn from Harrisville Designs. It's actually, I bought this off of someone's D-stash on Ravelry, so I didn't buy it from the mill itself, but I would like to buy from the mill itself to more directly support them. I think this is the mill, you know, when you read the tags on the loft. Oh yeah, spun in Harrisville, New Hampshire. So I think loft used to be spun in this mill, and now I'm just scared. You know, we have so few mills left in America, and I'm sure Brooklyn Tweed was such like a big client of Harrisville mills. I don't know, I'm just, I got the book Vanishing Fleece. This is a little tangent. I got the book Vanishing Fleece by Clara Parks, and from a friend, and I read it. It's a very easy read, it's a very fun read. She's taken a bale of hay to a handful of mills in America, and it's kind of following along the process of from shearing the sheep to having the yarn in hand. When you have to go get it cleaned down in Texas and spun either in Maine or New Hampshire or wherever, dyed out in California, you know, so it's fun. She takes you on a little ride, and she tells you a little bit about the state of the American textile industry. And this book came out before COVID, and this project that she did was actually done, I think, even years before the book came out. So let's say 10 years ago, she went through the process of taking the wool through the textile manufacturing industry in America, and some of them are still there in the book. She talks about Bartlett's, which is up in Maine, and they sell their own yarn in addition to being commissioned, I guess, by companies. The other mill that she mentioned, Blackberry Ridge, out in the northern Midwest, maybe Wisconsin, I want to say. They're still in business, and they're still actively milling, though they're trying to sell the mill and retire. But the other one in Pennsylvania has shut down. Yeah, and even then, 7 years ago when she wrote the book, and 10 years ago when she was going through the process, she made note of how precarious the industry really was and is, and I'm sure even more now. So I don't know, I'm gonna buy the Knitting for Olive silk, but if I buy wool this year, I want to buy American wool. That's kind of my, I don't know, the little thing I want to do. So anyways, tangent over. I want to get yarn from Harrisville Designs to do the academic, and I would recommend doing this. I got their color cards, and it's just so fun. So they're beautiful. They do woolen spun yarns and fleece. I hope you guys will be able to see a little bit of this. But it's this, you know, it has like the process, the milling process, some images of that with a little bit talking about the 200 years of textile tradition, and then the different types of yarn that they sell. They're classic yarns. I'll put up pictures of this if you couldn't see anything in that little flash there. But yeah, they do a handful of different types of yarns. One of them that they do is Shetland or Highland. So it's the same yarn, just in different weights. And look at all of these colors. So there's so many colors and such beautiful gradients. So to do fades or anything, there's all their blues and purples. And then here's their oranges and reds and neutrals. And then there's their retail store. I actually want to go up there. I think it would make a really fun day trip. It's a few hours from my house, really. So you can get this in skeins, you can get it in cones, you can even get it in fleece. You can get it in half-pound bags of fleece. So yeah, I would like to pull, look at how beautiful, here are their cones. And it's so nice to actually have the color cards because, I mean, I think you need, or what I would choose would be maybe 6 colors or so for this vest. And so it's just really nice to have something tangible to help you decide. Yeah, so that's the classic line. The Highland and the Shetland. Highland is worsted weight. That you can get half-pound cones, which would have 450 yards, or if you get the Shetland yarns, it's a half a pound cone, you get 900 yards. And it's very reasonably priced, I feel. When you get skeins, they're typically 50 gram skeins. So the Shetland yarn is sport or fingering weight, 2-ply, 217 yards per 50 grams. I think it's like $10 and change for that, if I remember correctly when I was on their website. And their Highland yarns is worsted weight 2-ply, 200 yards per 100 grams. I don't remember what that cost off the top of my head. But I think their cones were in the $20 range. So I don't know, to me I think that's affordable, especially for yarn that's, I don't know where the yarn is from, but it is spun in the States. So they do a lot of weaving too. Yeah, just very cool. So I might use that yarn. Another yarn line that they carry there, American Spun, obviously. I don't know if it's the same thing as it being theirs or if this is for someone else, but I don't know. The color card at least says Harrisville Designs. So they have this yarn range, which is called Watershed for their worsted and Fly for their sport. Fly Wheel for their sport. And yeah, I think this is theirs because they're saying on the back here, the inspiration for this yarn came from canoeing down our watershed in Harrisville, New Hampshire. The water bubbles up from natural springs from the top at Spoonwood Pond and flows into the bottom at Lake, oh my God, Scatutaki. Yeah. So it's just beautiful. Again, like beautifully heathered woolen spun yarns. So this comes in worsted or sport weight. So maybe I would consider getting the sport weight yarn here for the academic. But we'll see. I have to say, I just love having these color cards. They're not free, but I think they're worth the money for sure. I think I just have one more. Drinking grapefruit juice with a lot of ice. So sorry if it's all clangy. Okay. I think the last one I have to talk about is the Barwick by Marie Wallin. This is from her Erin book that came out, I think, just last year, and everyone was making the cover sweater, which I really like, and I would like to make that too. But the book actually has a lot of beautiful patterns in it, and there's at least 3 things I want to make from there. And one of them is the Barwick. It's an open cardigan jacket. Of course, she's using her own yarns, and it's called Erin. The book is called Erin because these are very thick Erin weight yarns. But I'm not going to use her line of wool for a couple reasons. One, I don't want to buy it. I mean, I would love to work with it one day, but I have a lot of Nutidin yarn, the unspun yarn from Sweden, and I would like to use it. And I think it would be a good choice for this because it looks like a big garment and that you would need a lot of yarn. And so I would imagine using an Erin weight yarn would be very heavy. And I like the idea of this piece not really kind of dragging under the weight of, I'm making up a number, but like 600 grams. So I'm planning to use Nutidin yarn for this in a similar color palette as is in the photo. And I'm not going to know any of these names. I'm going to know 2 of the names. And I don't even know if these are all the colors, but because I just kind of threw all this together just now, but these at least will be in it, and maybe another color or so more. But for the main body, I'm planning on using Wagon Hem, which is just a neutral, a beige, like an oat. It's definitely warm tone gray. I see some some yellow in here. And so I think that this would be a nice neutral body color. Again, with the light, it snowed a lot today, so it's a very bright light. I don't know what it looks like coming in on the side here, but. And then I don't know what, yeah, I'll just show you. So here's the stack for the color work. I don't know this color. Botaniste, something like that. I don't know the purple either. This is actually, the yellow is actually a Plotolopi. It's the only non-Nutidin yarn that I'm going to be using because I probably do have a yellow of Nutidin, but I think it's in Amsterdam. I still have a lot of yarn in Amsterdam. So I bought a plate of Plotolopi, which I've never worked with before, the Icelandic yarn. So I am kind of curious to see what it's like. I've only ever worked with Nutidin as a unspun yarn. So yeah, I would be surprised if I really honestly knit this one this year, but I at least would like to start the color bands before the end of 2026. So that's my hope. But this is, you know, this one is definitely later in the year for sure. If at all, if I'm being realistic. Like this will be the one that's least likely to get going, but I can probably at least start a color band. And I would love to have the garment. But yeah, so that will be hopefully a Barwick at some point. All right, let me just make sure, because I wasn't paying attention, I'm not counting. Oh, that's what my notebook is for. Oh, sorry, I think I just jostled you a little bit. I hope I haven't been doing that. My apologies if I have. Yeah, the Academic Northern Augustins number 7, cardigan number 9, Belair's, something with the Belair's yarn. So the gem, Chunk Island tank, Barrack, waffle loop skirt, Vertices Unite, and the roof pullover. All right, so I did cover them all. I'm gonna turn this into a bingo card. I like gamifying stuff like this. Maybe I'll even have the bingo card up on the screen now. You'll notice that it's actually many more things there than the 9. It's a 5x5 grid. So it includes, spoiler alert, the whips. The whips that I at least want to finish this year. So yeah, I'll talk about those other names in that bingo card in my next video. And I just gather up all the whips and reckon with my reality and figure out in what order I want to get them done. Because actually I do have some really cool whips that I really want the product on and I really want off my needles. So yeah, that'll be my next video. And I also have another video I want to make probably the beginning of February, because I know February is that whole finish it February mentality. So I think in that video I'm going to unearth some really, really dormant whips and unfinished objects and just decide to either finish them, frog them, or forget about them. That's, yeah, like literally I think there could be a whip or two, or even a finished garment actually, or not a garment, but like finished things that I'm just gonna toss and literally just throw them away. Because I don't even think that they're giftable, but I'll get into all that in another video. Yeah, so that will make up my bingo card, those main things. The Ravelry, I know that there's going to be a tile on the bingo card for Ravelry. A knitting goal in general that I really want this year is to get better again at Ravelry. I used to have all my yarn stashed there, and all my projects had pictures and pretty good notes. So I want to make sure that I do that this year. So that will be a box that I check in December if and only if I've, yeah, revitalized my Ravelry. I'll link my Ravelry below. It's not much to look at now, but I'll link it and you can follow me, and that could be fun. I like having little friends on Ravelry. And then I think, I don't know, there's probably another box there. Oh, I want to do a crochet project this year. I didn't include that in my Make 9. Even if I just crochet a bag or a bucket or a purse or something, I would like to crochet. I haven't crocheted in a long time and I do like to do that. So that's something I would like to do as well. But I think those are my main knitting goals. So more to come in future videos, and please wish me luck with them. What are your plans for 2026? A lot of people don't like New Year's, but I love, New Year's is one of my favorite holidays, and I love the idea of starting over, like turning the page and the new leaf and all of that, and I don't know, getting excited about, about things to come. So what are you going to be doing this year, crafting wise? I'm always down to be completely derailed with my plans by some amazing plans that you might suggest. So yeah, let me know, and I will talk to you hopefully in 2 weeks. I think that could be a good cadence in the beginning to get these first few videos out, so that, yeah, I get to kind of really introduce myself through my knitting in a pretty efficient and timely manner. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.